So welcome to another program of the Monroe County History Club. My name is Michael Carter. I usually wear long pants for this, but I couldn't hack it today. Had to be short pants. So welcome to my wife, beautiful wife Paulette. She's around taking pictures now, which is what I usually do. And my cousins and my brother Steve over there. Or Steve was there, anyway. I'll list some sheets of paper on the various tables for the coming attractions. So, you know, one sheet of paper per table. So share, take a photo of it, or whatever you want to do with it. They list all the upcoming programs going way into next year. And, you know, keep in mind that these programs aren't set in stone, as evidenced by the last two programs. We had cancellations and had to replace them. So that happens sometimes. Just find a way to work around it. Many thanks to the American Legion, as always, for allowing us to have these programs here. We've been partners for presenting and preserving local history for over 12 years. And thanks so much for the wait staff. Be sure and treat them generously, our servers. And Brooke, there's Brooke. Brooke and Amanda and Diane, I see them all out there. Also, thanks for Catch TV for recording our programs all this time. It's a very important service. And we usually have Dave here. We've got Justin, his replacement today. Dave took off, and we've had Justin before here. You do a great job. And as always, you know, thanks to our local history enthusiasts who actually come to the programs. That's a big deal, because we started out with like 6 people, and now we have, you know, an average of 90 to 100 a program. So, and, you know, we really appreciate your support. And also to all those who watch these programs on YouTube. It's great that all these transplanted Bloomingtonians all over the country can see these, because a lot of them contact me, tell me, you know, that they're glad they get to see Bloomington, a place they grew up in and haven't been in for a long time, see the history of it. We have a lot of diverse programs, different subjects. I hope we can keep it going for a long time. We'll see. How many new attendees today? Any new ones? Yay! Okay, if you want to get on our regular email list, feel free to do that. A lot of people don't like to get their messages through Facebook, so you can always get it through email. And I give it to my buddy George Carpenter, who can't be here anymore. He lives in Oklahoma, but he can handle that. And right now, Daniel Schlegel, Monroe County History Center, has some wisdom to impart.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to thank everyone that came out to the garage sale. That was our big fundraiser for the year. We raised over $120,000. We're still doing. Thank you. And we have the community to thank, because the community is who donates all the items. Our garage sale volunteers work very hard to clean everything up, display it so nicely, and to sell it. So those ladies do a great job, and they work very hard to make sure the History Center is able to do what we do. We have several new exhibits coming up. If you missed restaurants, order up 2. It is now down. We are putting up a new neighborhoods exhibit. So there's a lot of construction going on upstairs, so you have to come and find out why we're doing construction about neighborhoods. So we have a lot of great exhibits, so please make sure to come by and see us downtown at 6th and Washington in the old Carnegie Library. And then also, I know several of you, thanks to Michael, who made an announcement earlier for some of the early birds that were here. We found a bunch of the Avi Katz colorized photos that we had on display at the History Center, and so we don't need them, so we put them on sale and brought them over here just for this today. So there's some really neat photos, so if you need to take one home, whether it's the old swimming pool or the Harris Grand or Hoagie Carmichael, come see me over here to my left with the table and all kinds of books over there as well. So thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Oh, thank you, Glenda.
Let's see. So now we're ready to go. So for today's program, I had to make a change, of course. It so happened on the very day we had our last program, I found out that the next presenter had fallen ill, and couldn't get this program. By the way, I found out on Facebook it's Pam Davidson's birthday today, right? So anyway. Yeah. So anyway, cancellations are always a possibility, but you know, you're dealing with people and all kinds of things can pop up. I had been holding back a program for a situation like this for quite a while, and now's the time to use it. And I think you'll like what you see. A little background on this real quick. From about 2013 to 2015, a small group of us scanned thousands of negatives at the old Herald Telephone building. Derek Ritchie, who used to be real active here with us and doing programs and local history, had set up this with the HT as a way to find some of the best pictures from their archives and copy them and preserve them for the future. He recruited several of us local history nuts to help him, and we were glad to. Aside from myself, there were Skip Chambers, George Carpenter, Donna Stogstill, Marilyn Burke, Mike Pruitt, David Lemon, and Chris Williams. We weren't all there at the same time. We usually alternated. Hope I didn't leave anybody out, but I think I got everybody. The lead photographer at the HT at the time was David Snodgrass, and he oversaw all that we were doing. We would go down to the HT building once a week or every other week, a few of us, and spend a couple hours going through the old negatives and choosing the ones we liked to scan. I believe we used George's scanner most of the time. They had some processed photos around, but our main focus was the huge collection of negatives they had. We had thought going in that the negatives would go all the way back to the 30s, maybe the 1920s, but we were wrong. They went only as far as November 1957. And that's a long time ago, but you know, we found out prior to that the cameramen, photographers, owned those negatives and took them home with them. So they're probably in somebody's attic somewhere. But in 57, they changed it and the HT took possession. We've shown other photos from that scanning process probably 3 times before a few years ago, and people always like that. I don't believe we've shown the photos we're about to see. I've maybe put a couple of them on Facebook, but people won't have seen almost all these. The name of the program is self-defining, I think. A Journey Through Bloomington's Past, featuring Herald Telephone Photos from 58 to 63. And actually, they're mostly through 58, 59, and 60, almost all of them. The History Center has since been gifted all these photos. I think a couple of years ago, they were gifted all these photos and negatives so they can be stored safely. And they have shown some of them, and they're going to show some more later here, I think in October. They're going to show some of their negatives from a little bit later. Also need to thank Christine Friesel and Clay and Joe Stuckey for helping me with this program, helping me put it together. It was much appreciated because, as some of you may not know, I'm PowerPoint challenged. It's proof that you don't always have to know everything, but you just have to know somebody that does. So some images are pretty easy to identify, but others aren't, because they weren't labeled or anything, no identification on them. So as I show these images, feel free to speak up. If you have a comment or a question, anything to add about them, just holler out. There's about 170 of them, so I don't know if we'll get through them all. It just depends. I could stop, after so long, if everybody starts looking glassy-eyed, Or someone might just yell out, "For the love of God, please stop." So anyway, we'll see what happens. So before I begin, Christine compiled a list of things that were going on in Bloomington at the time these photos were taken. Most of these photos were taken. At that time, the new hospital groundbreaking took place. Benford and junior highs were being constructed. IU Memorial unit expansion took place, and I didn't know they had an expansion, so they did, apparently. Lilly Library was under construction. Billy Graham came to town to speak. Stonebout gave permission to use Headley School. And Kingston Trio performed here in 1959 at the IU Auditorium, I assume. Groundbreaking for the new armory south of town was 1958. And Monroe Reservoir groundbreaking was set for November 1960. The groundbreaking for the new U schools was 1962, just an FYI. Now we start. Clay, I've got it right side up. I almost had it upside down, but I think I'm doing good.
Okay,
All right.
ready? We're ready. See?
Which one? Will that still work? Think it'll work now? All right. Thanks, Clay. So
He's challenged.
I wanted to give people a look at the outset to see what we were doing, how we were doing this, and what it looked like. This is while the negatives were stored in shoebox-like boxes, and they only had the date the negative, the photograph was taken. And as you can see, there's a bunch of them in each box, and there are a bunch of boxes. So we like to went blind going through all these. Actually, probably only one out of every 20 photos made the paper. They took a lot of photos, and so we didn't know, you know, if some photos made the paper or not. We just picked out the negatives we thought looked good. Should I hold my mouth different, Clay? Use that one? Okay.
About ready to go, honey?
I'm punching both of them.
Let Mr. Stuckey have it.
Stand like this. So this is the backlit contraption we put these things on. And, you know, you can see it held quite a few of them. But still, even with this backlit thing, which was furnished by the HT, it was pretty hard to tell what we were seeing. So we probably missed some good photos because you can't, you know, get a great idea of what each one was. But that's what we had to work with. And see if this works now. Yay! And that's how they were stored downstairs in what we call the dungeon, or the morgue downstairs in the dark old dungeon. And there, as you can see, there are a bunch of them. Okay, here's the first real photo. This is a Ellisville Eagle basketball team, probably from about 1958 or 59. I know the guy on the upper left is John Holmes. He was a Hall of Fame basketball coach. No relation to J.R. Holmes, but nevertheless a great basketball coach. And I don't know any of the other guys except the guy lower right, second to the right. He was a great basketball player, averaged, I don't know, 25 a game in high school, and actually started for IU for at least a year under Branch McCracken. The other guys, does anybody recognize any of the other players? Oh yeah, Vern Paff. I forgot to mention his name. Vern Paff. Now here's a fellow shoveling snow. That would be on South College, about across from the old newspaper building. You can see the Moose Lodge there, and, you know, probably Tom O'Daniel Ford in the background. Now that guy, I don't know who he is, but I like that photo because it showed the Dandale in the background there. That's on the corner of Kirkwood and Walnut. Don't know who he was. This would have been about 1958. Dandale was the local watering hole in Bloomington. I don't think I was ever in there. This was a crowded, some kind of game. I don't know if it's indoors or outdoors. And actually, the image was reversed. If you look real close there, you can see it. But anybody recognize anyone in that one?
I recognize her, but I can't think of her name.
Which one?
The one with the number on her sweater.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I don't know where that was exactly. Next one was a protest of some sort that's at the IU auditorium. I think it's a civil rights type thing. Here's another one. Yes, there it is, for human dignity. It had to be some type of civil rights protest going on. Jim Crow. This looked like sectional time, and I couldn't tell if it was Dick Sparks. Do you know if that was 1960 or 59? Probably 60? That's kind of what I wasn't sure, but I thought it probably was. Yeah, the thing was poured on Panthers was the theme that year. It was a great year. Okay, there's a shooting range, and our buddy Phil Childress, who's here today, is on the lower left. There he is.
The two guys standing left to right are Jim and John Mitchell. Their father was Warren Mitchell, who was a teacher for a short while at Bloomington, and then was professor at IU. I'm the one on the left kneeling. Next kid over I don't recognize. The third one over is Mike Detmer.
Yeah.
And the guy standing on the right, I believe his first name was Joe, but I can't put a last name to it.
Well, what I've got standing, I've got Jim Mitchell, Ed Baker, and Floyd Witham. Does that sound right? That's what the newspaper said.
Again, what was it?
Floyd Witham was the guy on the far right standing, according to the Bloomington newspaper. And it said this group was taught by Army First Sergeant, First Class, Delbert Witham. Does that ring a bell?
That team was sponsored by the ROTC. They furnished the ammunition along with the rifles. We actually shot in competition up at Culver Military.
Yeah, it's mentioned here. I see that. How'd you do?
What was the name of the guy standing on the right?
Floyd Witham.
That's John Mitchell on the lower row in the middle. He was a real good friend of mine.
Okay.
He was killed in the Philippines by some insurgents.
Yeah. One of the standing guys is a brother to him, man.
And the shooting range was downstairs, and it was below the bowling alley?
Underneath the pin setters of the bowling
So
alley.
I didn't even know there was a shooting range in there back then.
It's still there, it's just used for storage now. They have used shooting range.
Okay. That's Second and College, and of course that's what we call the Adams buildings there. And at the time, of course, college dead-ended when you got to the high school. Nowadays, of course, it goes all the way through. And this was obviously during the tournament thing, sectional, something like that. Okay, here's a band. I don't know the name of it, but it has some local people.
The Rock Spiders.
What was it?
Rockin' Spiders.
Oh, Rocking Spiders. All right. I do know that's Tommy Shields on the left, David Hoover, Christy Kuntz, and who was the guy on the right? Because I don't know that guy. Do you know? Were they any good?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Tommy Shields became a preacher later on. Yeah. Oh, I like this one. This is looking west. There's not many night pictures on here, but I like these pictures of the city at night. This is looking west on Kirkwood, you know, near the Von Lee, of course. And I had a hard time reading the name of the movie. I found it, though, finally. It was called The Naked Night. And the Von Lee showed a lot of art films back in those days. It turns out this one was filmed in 1953. So it's kind of weird that it took 6 years to get to the Von Lee, but it did. It was an Ingmar Bergman film. Not Ingrid Bergman, but Ingmar Bergman, Swedish film. It was a complicated relationship between a circus ringmaster, his estranged wife, and his lover. Triangle, yeah. It also had an alternate title called Sawdust and Tinsel. So, honest to God, that's what it said. So there's another one. And this was obviously from a different day. How do you like that danger thing there? I don't know what they had. Yeah, what would they have had underneath there to be dangerous? Anyway, he can't hear me. Something high voltage. And there was also a movie there, and this was easier to read, and it was called Please Turn Over. And at first, I naturally thought it was a cooking film, you know, but it wasn't. It was a comedy from 1959. It took place in a small English town. A scandal ensues after a teenager secretly writes a novel, turning her family and friends into licentious characters. Yeah, what could go wrong with that, right? So, anyway. So here we have some people on the courthouse at a blood drive. Recognize anybody? They're on the lawn. Now, this one intrigued me because I don't know any of these guys. They look for all the world to be like high school guys, and it looks to be like a gym, a high school gym, but I don't think it's Bloomington High School.
Is Topagus in the middle?
He looks to be too tall for Topagus, but I mean, it could be UHS, it could be Smithville. I don't know. Anybody recognize anyone? I don't know why they're there. You know, don't have a clue because, as I said, none of these images were labeled or identified. You think it's U School?
That's Tim Snyder,
It's Fred Jones on the second
middle,
row.
second row,
Right.
and Brummett,
In the
upper
second row,
left,
right?
back row.
Duncan Ray, Dr. Ray's.
Oh, okay. So it's U School then. I don't see Fred Jones though.
The second row on the right, maybe?
I don't think. You could be right. I didn't think it was him. You could be right.
They all look happy.
Ah. Well, we all remember Barge's Bakery probably, but I don't remember it so much for the picnic buns as the donuts myself. You don't recognize anybody?
Across from the hospital on Second
Martin's
Street.
Bakery, West Second Street.
What did I do wrong? Okay, maybe I put the left hand. Okay, this was an IU basketball game at the, that had been at the 7th Street gym. I did? There we go. So some kind of beauty contest. And I don't know, I don't recognize anyone that, although it has a local flavor, that's Bloomington Herald Telephone sash she has. And let's see. There's another one, I think it mentioned Lane Furniture. I don't remember that, do you? No. There's the basketball game at the 7th Street gym. Of course, they quit playing there about 59, I think, and a lot of people don't know it became the Hyper Building. It held about 8,000 or 10,000 people. But then they moved to the gym over at the new complex, and Walt Bellamy and Jimmy Rail played at that one for a while. This guy with the ball, I think, was Bob Wilkinson. That shows how old I am. He was a pretty good ball player, guard on the team, number 44, I think. Now, what on earth do you think this was? I don't know. It could be toothpicks. It's not an erector set, probably toothpicks. But this guy may have won a major award for this. It's an old covered bridge. I don't know where it is. Over where? Where's Jeremy Boshears when we need him, right? So he would know what that was. I'm sure he'd know what it was. There's our cheerleaders. So is the girl on the right, was her name Schreiber? I mean the left, Schreiber. And then Janet Wyatt, and Joanne Parker, and Barbara Soames, who's right over there. Yay. So that was probably 1960, right? Now, we have two snake handlers, and I know people love snakes. Christine Friesel found the story on this. The guy is called James, or the name James Langhammer, and he owned the snakes. He is embraced by a non-poisonous anaconda of South America, which he bought from a collector in Florida. It was 2 years old then and 7 feet long. But it would grow at maturity to 30 feet long. And the other one is a boa constrictor. It's held by Isabel Hamilton, and she was a botany student at the time. That snake was 2 years old and 3.5 feet long, and the maturity would be 15 feet long. And these two snakes ate 1.5 chickens per day. Bless their hearts, right? This guy looks familiar. I don't know who that is. He looks familiar. Anybody recognize him? Yeah, and that photo there is kind of famous in a way. Now it resides at the History Center. It's up on the 2nd floor, and it's kind of tucked away in a corner, but it's worth looking for. It was taken, I think, around 1958, the photo, and I think everybody in town remembers that photo. Now, they used to have what they call a Safe Driving Award. It was given away by the police department. It was either once a month or bi-monthly, and I don't know who that is, but man, it looks like Tim Considine was in town. for a little while. But
Do you know what town that stayed in? That's not Bloomington.
yeah, it is, isn't it?
Says city of Bloomington on the police car.
Yeah.
Bloomington, Indiana.
Okay, several of us will be familiar with these. Few of us were patrol boys, they called us, and we had pretty cool belts that that went diagonal and had a badge on it. And it was kind of a cool thing to be one of the patrol boys, or girls. There was a girl there too, right? So apparently they started doing this in 1951. The Lions Club had presented 11 safety warning flashers to the city for the city safety patrol. So, there was probably one at every school back in those days. So I was on it. I think Phil Childress was. Kelly Brannigan was, I think. Anybody else on safety patrol? Oh, look at that. I think they were just picked by the teachers, weren't they, Phil? I mean, whoever our teachers were decided who would be on that. Whoever was expendable. Yeah. So ground is being broken here for a new swimming pool. That's probably Tom Lemon. And it's 1958. I think that just has to be Bryant Park. I don't know what else it could be in 1958. 3rd Street had been there for decades before that. And yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Bryant Park. Anybody know the other guys there? I don't. And here's cops talking to a kid, a young man. I don't know if it was take your kid to school or to your work day or what. I don't think it's an arrest. I guess they were showing him something. But a lot of us recommend that or remember that tank back there. And what did they store in that, Phil?
Natural gas.
Natural gas, right?
Floated up and down on a bed of water.
There's Johnson's Creamery. They used to deliver that to your home, like, and our guy was Herald Ham. He could come right in the house and put the milk in the refrigerator or the ice cream, and we'd pay him whenever he was due. Okay, this is kind of cool. It's down at the depot, the train station. That's obviously Herman B. Wells. And I found out later from someone in the know that they were greeting the Metropolitan Opera at this time. They used to come here yearly for quite a while, I guess, back in those days. So he's looking for the Met train, I guess. And there he is again. It says New York Central car there, so it's New York City. What?
That was a special train that the Met took around the country.
Oh, okay.
It came from New York.
Oh, okay. You recognize this guy, anybody? I found out later who it was. They seem to know who it was. Harvey Phillips. That's what they said. Of course, he became famous for Tuba Santas later on. This, I just thought was interesting because it looked to be an informal parade somewhere, probably in Bloomington, but I don't know what they were doing. Looked to be mom and dad's or something. So, recognize anybody? There's an interesting bridge, which it might be safe to walk on, but I wouldn't want to drive a car across it. To me, I don't know why, it looks like it could be Old 37, but could be any other place, I suppose. Okay, the school, Christine thought maybe it was Headley School. So is that Headley? That's on Matlock Road. That's back when school equipment was fun. Yeah. Yeah. Fall off and break your arm. That's some of the BHS football team. You can see the BHS there and the field and the WTTS across the way there. I think this is 58 or 59. It seems to me the guy on the lower right was Larry McDaniel. I could be wrong. Upper left is, remember Austin Pate? Is that Austin Pate? Kind of looks like him. But beyond that, I'm not sure who they are.
Ferguson's on this end, on the right end, in that position there.
Which Ferguson? No, Bob didn't play football.
I think the guy in the center is Gary Rogers.
That would make sense. I was a center too, and I didn't hold the ball that way. I don't know. All right, he held it his way. I spent a lot of time on that field. I played on that field for four or 5 years. I just kind of like this because it was a neat car, a Triumph. It was at the place up on North College, I think. Can't think of the name of it. Could be. Oh, okay, here's one of my favorites. I put this on Facebook once, and the guy in the photo, who's a friend of mine, said it was him, John Cotner. He's a U School guy, but he lives in Michigan now. We talk quite a bit. And he had a little story to go with this, which is kind of cool. The name of the movie, which they didn't quite get the name on it yet, was A Certain Smile on the Princess Theater. It debuted July 31st, 58. He says it was a forgettable flick, but had a good theme song by Johnny Mathis. I don't know if the movie got to Bloomington later in the summer of 58, when I would have been 10, or the next year. But The Princess ran only first run film, so he was pretty sure this photo was taken in August of 58. Bobby Brown was with him. Now, he's an old BHS kid who was killed in action in Vietnam. He said, Bobby was with me when the HT reporter asked if we wanted to have our picture taken using a hula hoop for the article in the paper. Bobby declined. I jumped on it. He was standing there off camera laughing at me. Of course he was, right? That's what you did back in those days. He and I had been to University Sporting Goods to look at the baseball gloves and bats, and we're on our way to Bob's hobby shop to look at the bikes when this picture was taken. We would have stopped at Mid Burgers restaurant. I remember that place. Do you guys? Mid Burgers? And a malt. And we would have stuck our head in Ferris Brothers Market to say hi to Bud Ferris, who we knew was as a Little League coach on exchange, where his sons Chuck and Grant played. I knew Chuck pretty well. All the Stations of the Cross for a boy on his own in downtown Bloomington in the 1950s. And he says, "Them's was the days." I like this one, and that looks like 10th Street to me. Anybody else? 10th Street looking east. It sure does. It says Bud's. There was a Bud's hamburger place, but it's not the same one down near RCA, of course. It wouldn't have been there then. So I don't know who had this one. But the street didn't look in very good repair. Maybe they're getting ready to pave it. Yeah, McCall would have been on the right, a little bit farther down. Yes, Hinkle's would have been on the left, about a block up. There's Gotzi's. All of us are familiar with Gotzi's, I think. 17th and College. We didn't go there too much because we lived across town, but every once in a while. Meet your candidates. This is 1958 when Tom Lemon, our mayor, was running against Bill Bray for congressman. And this is on the square. I see the new mode in the background. I like this one. So there's Bray on the left, Tom Lemon in the middle, and some military figure. But what I like about it is that look, that stink eye look, Tom Lemon's giving Bill Bray. I don't know. Maybe they were buddies, but it didn't look like it from this photo to me. Bill Bray won, incidentally.
Is that the armory?
Could be. It was, you know, it was in the process getting built then. It was 58, you know, like it says there. Football game at Memorial Stadium on 10th Street. I don't know who the teams are. The old Coke plant on South Washington. My uncle, Paul Wayne Carter, worked there for several years. And as I recall, didn't the grade schools take a little trip to the Coca-Cola plant? I remember going through and watching the bottles go by. So it would have been right across from 3rd Street Park. The building's still there.
Used by Midway House.
Was that what it is now?
Yes,
Okay.
it is, and it has the terrazzo floors still from the Coke days because they were less likely to erode with acid.
Oh, really?
So they had terrazzo floors in
Ah, okay.
right
Cool.
back.
Well, this was something going on. At first I thought it was Old Timers Day or something, but someone informed me it might have been the sesquicentennial celebration. And that's Kirkwood. Could be, could be. And that's Cofield Drugs, where I had my first job, 1964. Mopping floors, cleaning bathrooms, whatnot. And I ended up being a pharmacist, probably because of starting at that place, I guess. It's funny, everybody smoked in those days, including the pharmacists, the patients. There was smoke everywhere. Nobody thought anything about it in the 60s. Different era. And I think this is Benford School, I think. Didn't that look like it? I mean, wasn't Dyer supposed to be identical when they built them? But I don't know. I think that's Benford. I love this, that cannon on the south side of the square. It's pointed right at Woodward Insurance. Now, I don't know if they were good friends or maybe he had something against Mr. Woodward. Anyway, you couldn't shoot the cannon. And right there also is the Bradtree building. And the paper was getting close to being ready to move by that time. They saved those pillars and they took them out to the IU track complex where they stand today. And it's pretty neat that they were able to save them that way. Now this is another parade. This is between Walnut and Washington. And they're walking east, and I have no idea what they're doing. I see Bloomington Shoe Repair, Sullivan's, Workingman's, I guess, and Cooper's Jewelry.
That dark building's a hotel, wasn't it?
Was it? You're probably right. I can't remember. I kind of like this one. I think, is that Bob of Bob's Hobby Shop? I mean, anybody to wear cars on his shoulder, it's that has to be. This one was kind of an intrigue. When I posted this on Facebook once, and a lot of people thought this was Bikey Smith or Byron Smith. It was not. It was not. It was a guy named Jim Veal, a blind undergraduate at IU. So I don't know what the deal was, why they were taking a picture of him. That'd be right there on the corner of College and Kirkwood, right in front of the bank. That's Lou Winkler, who was worked for the Herald Telephone, right? There's Herald Telephone people here. What did he do there?
He was editor.
What?
Editor.
He was an editor, okay. I also saw him in baseball garb, so I think he was an umpire too for youth baseball.
His wife worked there too.
Oh, okay. Okay, this pool. I don't think it's Bryant Park. I thought this was McCormick's Creek. What do you think? I mean, that's what it looks like to me. Yeah, that's what everybody always said. It's not 3rd Street Park, for sure. It's not Brown County, I don't think. This is down at the old baseball field. I spent a lot of time in that dugout. We had a real high-class dugout, and that was there for quite a while. Off to the left, at the top of the picture, there was a bakery there. I forget what it was called, but my sophomore year, one of the players, Paul Sindrich, snuck up there during practice and brought back a dozen donuts. And we ate them in the dugout. Of course, everybody had powder on their mouth. And Coach Groh found out, and if anybody knows Coach Groh, he was not happy. And he tried to make us tell who did it, but we were brave and we wouldn't give his name. So he left us alone. But that field was dirt, but that's all we had back in those days. That has to be a Babe Ruth All-Star team with some familiar faces on it. That's Mike Gouldy. I see Norman Doty. Anybody else recognize anybody?
Is that Gary Fischel in the middle?
Yeah, Gary Fischel, that does look like him. Well, I think that Babe Ruth's All-Star team went far in the national tournament that year. Went a long ways. They had some really good athletes on that team. I thought this was cool. That was the Aquacade they had every year at the, this was 3rd Street Park here. So I just thought that was kind of a neat photo. The one guy's showing off, he's got his trunks on. There's two what you call clowns, I guess. They were up there putting on a show on the high board. What?
Colby Billingsley used to do clown shows.
Oh, well, I don't know. So that was junior achievement. I figured that was it had to be at the IU Auditorium, probably a summer, summer camp thing, I would guess. What? Right.
They come into Bonner's office, buy all new staplers and stuff. When I worked there, it was crazy what they spend. And then come back the next year and do the same thing over again. I don't know what they did with all the staplers and stuff they used to buy.
That was a University High School practice. I don't know any of the guys, but I recognize their helmets. I always thought their helmets were kind of cool. They looked like Michigan helmets, except they were red and white. I liked their helmets, but we were better than them. So. I don't know. Christine, did you know what that was with the bat?
I think it was Rowan College asking for bats for a study.
Oh, okay. I assume it's dead, but I don't know. Well, I put this on here just because there were 3 kids dressed alike that looked to be the same age, had the same shirts on. I just wondered, could that be the Hayes triplets? Don't think so? I didn't have a clue. I didn't. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we all know that place. Hags and Kroger. So this would have been around 58 or 59. Yeah. 4th in college. And that Hags was the place to go back in those days. This is before the mall. So like my parents on Friday or Saturday night would go to Hags on the weekend.
I'd go in there and buy saltpeter and all sorts of stuff, make homemade rocket fuel with. They had
That figures.
They had all sorts of stuff in there you could blow shit up with.
Yeah. They did. They had everything. Okay. That's the Bloomington High School basketball team. It's either 59 or 60. I think maybe 59. What do you think, Dick?
Jerry Hill, Don Baker, Mickey Reeves, that's.
I see Ron Gruniger, Mickey Reeves, Homer Deering, Coach Huff, Coach Rhodes. Is that Dave Trueblood or Jim McMillan down at the bottom? I don't know who that is. But it's not 1960 though, I don't think. And they got nets around them, so you won the sectional in 59. Okay.
Don Baker to Jerry Hill.
Yeah.
I think that's Tom Baker down there. The next coach is Road.
Isn't that guy second from the right, Wampler? Is he a Wampler?
Jim McMillan's down there at the bottom there.
So that's McMillan and not Trueblood, right? Okay.
Ken Lawson, I think that's Ken Lawson. Mickey Reeves is behind,
Where are you at, Dick?
in the sweater there.
Oh, okay.
How's the socks running?
Oh, okay.
You can only dress so many,
Right. So that's some kind of McMullen or McCullough fundraiser, some kind. I don't know if that says Super Circus behind them or what. I don't know. Aha. Ambulance. No. Oh, somebody croaked. So that's college in Kirkwood. Back when they had phone booths. There's Hook's Drugs on the left, Van Orman Hotel. Whoops. Those guys, I know the name. The guy on the left is Stone, but I don't know his first name. Don Stone and Ed Todd on the right, right? Yeah, Don Stone on the left. They're probably going through some kind of rehearsal. This is the old police station across from the Coffee Cup. And by the way, Paulette's parents ran the Coffee Cup for many years. And you never ate a brain sandwich, did you? No, I didn't think so. I wouldn't either. Okay, anybody recognize this guy? It's a sheriff or a deputy in a cell? I don't know who it is. That's the Gables. And this is when IU won the Big Ten championship in 1958. And is that a Hudson? It is, isn't it? Showers Factory. Had several pictures of showers. They all look dirty and dusty like this one. Now, there were two Livingston markets in town. One on the west side, one on the east side. I think this is east side. And there was one on West 2nd, which is only a couple of blocks from where I grew up. I've got 1958 here, but I don't know. Okay. All right. But it worked? Okay. I used the middle one that time. So it's Sarkis Stars and Rectifier Division up on North College. I don't actually remember that building. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. Okay, there's the famous All-American City sign. They were everywhere. And that was 58, I think. There's another one. Civic Newcomers Club. Yeah, and that was really a big deal at the time. Okay, now here's the inside of a store. And I thought it had to be Hags. What do you think? Look at all that stuff in there. I don't know how they got past the fire marshal with this stuff. Does anybody else think it was Hags, or you don't think it was? I don't know where it would have been. Discount, yeah. Shell out for polio drive, buy peanuts, and that's on the courthouse lawn. There's Tom Lemon again. He had more photo ops than any other mayor, believe it or not. You recognize any of those other people? Probably Indiana Bell executives, because they're breaking ground for the Indiana Bell building, it looks like. They're on South Washington. So that car, I suppose, raced at the Bloomington Speedway. Rocking Chair Special. Yeah, it was, it says Lazy Foxes on it. That would have been McDaniel Furniture, I guess. Yeah. Lawrence Fox. Oh, Flo, is that Flo? Lawrence, okay. Don't know.
He had a shop at his house on South Lincoln.
Okay, this is somehow related to the 500, or a little 500, so I thought, but that's not Memorial Stadium, and that's not BHS. Could that be UHS's track? Anybody know?
Yeah, that's UHS's old football field too, and track.
Okay, so that's where that was. I couldn't figure out where else it would be. But the press box looked familiar up there. But they were practicing for the little 500, I assume. Yeah. Right. And I remember this guy. His name's Fred Wiley.
Yes.
And he dated a friend of mine's sister, Dwayne Binkley. He dated Julia Binkley, Dwayne's sister, for a while. And obviously he's got a problem here. He's either got the wrong ball or the wrong club, one or the other.
Actually, cross country ended up being his better sport. He entered as a freshman.
Who did?
Fred Wiley.
Oh, did he?
He was a good bowler and good golfer.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the new Herald Telephone building. Which I think was 1958, pretty sure.
Good old days.
Yeah. I like this because Like, would you buy a used car from that guy? Does that look like Tom O'Daniel?
Yes.
Or, that's who I think it is. My dad tried to give me a pair of shoes he had just like that, and I turned them down, and he was mad at me for a year. I just couldn't do it. Now, there was a Bloomington beauty, Anna Marie Enright. Probably still at 3rd Street Pool, I'm thinking, but yeah, she was quite the beauty queen. She was class of 60, I think, right?
62.
What?
62.
Oh, okay. So Bucks Derby had a bunch of those photos, a lot of them. At one time, I went through, did some work and compiled the various winners of the Derby. And this is probably 58 or 59, and I couldn't find a winner for that year, combing through the newspapers, but I did find in 1960 it was Ron Myers. 61, Dwight Kurtz. That ring a bell to anybody? 62, Kenny Kirkman. And 63, Walter Peeler. But that's as far as I went.
Where was the course?
What's that?
Where was the soapbox course?
This particular, by 1958, it was, well, okay, it was on North Walnut till about 56. Then it switched to 7th Street for a couple of years, going east. And then it went to over near the swim, over near Bryant Park, Woodlawn, for a while. It stayed there for a few years. That's what's that one? Miller Dry Cleaners, I think. Probably what that says. And that had to be the county fair, probably, go-kart racing. Okay, we all heard of that place. Whitesides, east side of the square. Right next to Smith's. Yeah, Malibu. So that looks like Emmett Kelly. It probably isn't. But I don't know if he would have been there for the county fair or whatever. So here we have a, well, fashion show, and recognize anybody? I don't know who they were with or who was sponsoring it. Looked like, you know, mostly people of color, so I don't know exactly what was going on. Fireside. Where was that at exactly? Was it on 4th Street? So it'd be between College and Walnut on 4th Street? Okay. They had more one location, right? Well,
They were in the Grand Hotel, right?
And then they moved down.
And then they moved out onto
3rd Street.
East 3rd Street.
That's Walnut Street. Face Walnut,
Yeah, it is.
next to Joe Natale's.
that kind of interested me, being an old pharmacist. I don't know, was Campus Pharmacy out on East 10th Street originally? I don't know what was going on here, but the only thing I can say is, man, that's cramped quarters. And the other thing is, Pretty poor storage for prescription drugs. Yeah, I doubt if they had an air conditioner in there. I really do. Thought that was fascinating. Ted Schufler, right? David, is that who that? It's a cross-country meet. I think it's Ted Schufler and or Shuffler and Lexi Mills on the right. Lexi coached me in basketball a couple of years. Okay, here's a place I showed to a few of my buddies, and we could not figure this out. We don't think it's Bloomington. At first I thought it was the north side of the square, but I don't recognize anything. You think it's Mitchell? Oh, okay. All right. There we go, Mitchell, Indiana. So some kind of parade. They're waving flags, so maybe it's Memorial Day or probably not Veterans Day because people are dressed.
They had a lot of parades for Gus Grissom during that time period.
Yeah, I guess that, yeah, they would, wouldn't they? Oh, you think that's it? So we'll see what happens. So it's a big parade, and people are dressed like it's probably pretty warm. So I'd say maybe Memorial Day, or could be July 4th, but and that's a big parade. We don't have them that big anymore. This had to be taken from a fairly, from a building there. Hooks Drugs there. Van Orman Hotel. Okay, now I know exactly what year this was because that's the Van Arsdale twins, of course. And that's Angus Nicholson in the middle. He coached the All-Star team. Back in those days, they picked a coach, and he coached it for several years. And he was the coach for quite a while. And this tells me it was 1961 because that's the year they graduated. And they played Kokomo in a championship game and got beat in a real close game. And of course came to IU and had a great career. They are all, identical in size. They looked exactly alike, and for their stats were even the same for their whole career, almost down to the point and to the rebound. They were really, really good ball players. That's the old band shell down at 3rd Street Park. They actually tore that one down and replaced it with the one there that's there now. I don't know the exact year they did that, but this one was gone. So I don't know if this is a daycare or what. Hard telling. I don't recognize anyone. Now that's the education building, which is University School. What were they digging out there? Anybody know? Was it put in a fountain or something? Is that what it was? Well, you needed to watch your step. So that's the Hideaway, and I think that's the first iteration of the Hideaway. It was on Woodlawn, and I think it got torn down for a parking garage, and they relocated on Atwater, and it became a sub shop, submarine sandwich shop, and I think that building's still there, I think. But we used to have, we'd be out late at night drinking Pepsi and whatnot, and We would stop by the Hideaway at maybe 1 a.m. or so. This, I don't know, some kind of thing going on outside of Can's Clothing on Kirkwood. Maybe some music. All those guys got their hats on. At nighttime, I have no idea what on earth that would have been. Okay, Eastland Shopping Center, or part of it. So we found a little information on this too. It's pretty barren looking there, isn't it? From an HT story, Eastland Plaza was to be built on 13 acres at a cost of $750,000. It would be ready by August of 1961. 15 to 20 firms were expected to locate there. Some firms were W.T. Grant, Kroger, Hooks, Value Dress, and Shell Oil. Also, major Cincinnati department store and shoe firm. And that's from the HT of November 1960. There's the Edmonds twins, Ron and Don. So identical Curry Buick cars. I don't know how they did in the race. This I found, this is on Kirkwood looking east, but it turned out that's a homecoming parade. And I was thinking Dave Lemon's the one that found out the information on that. Didn't you, David?
I think it's like Michigan State.
Michigan State's who they played, and I can't remember who won.
That's not a tough guess.
Probably not us, was it? And that's a Monon engine down there on Morton Street, your Records Hatchery. I always liked this one. I put that on Facebook before. And this, I think, was 58 or so. You can see Cofield Drugs there in the background. This lady standing there. There's a phone booth. But what I like is that trash receptacle. It says, "Keep our city clean." It looks like they could have painted the thing to make it look cleaner, but I don't know. It's around Christmas time. You can tell that. Some kind of parade. I think that's in the 60s, going by Thrasher Hardware. And that's Stout's sign there, I think. Stout's drugstore sign in the left-hand part of it. Now, I knew one of these people. It's Dave Martin on the left. And Melody Malsbury on the right. They were married. She passed away a few years ago. Dave Martin was a good ball player for BHS and went on to start for IU on the line. So he played college ball. He's a great guy. I knew him. So this was a little concert on the old part of the IU campus. And I just kind of liked the dog, so I put that in there. He probably belongs to somebody in that band there. Junior gardening at Hilltop. I had nothing to do with Hilltop. Did any of you people garden at Hilltop? That was kind of a thing back in the day, wasn't it? Looks to be a fundraiser at McCullough, probably. Some kind of fundraiser. Yeah, that tells about the hillside hilarities. So, must have been fun and games involved with Hillside. And there's somebody tried to raise some money for the Girl Scout camp at Bradford Woods. I think there was a Boy Scout camp first and then a Girl Scout camp later, I think. I never did get to go to Bradford Woods. I don't know if my mom didn't want me to. How many of you guys went to Bradford Woods? See? Everybody but me. And there's another thing describing what was going on there. Must have been right in the middle of it. There's two guys in it, what I guess probably police dog. Anybody recognize them? It's not Ren 1010. Can you be more specific? Or? That's right. Now, these two fellows are meeting up on North College next to the Van Orman Hotel. Looks like he's giving them a gavel, so it must have something to do with maybe a judge or some lawyer deal. Do you recognize those guys? 'Cause I don't. That's good. That means you never went before any of these guys in court, probably. There's Harry Stevens, Oldsmobile, popular used car place, new car place.
Is that the used car lot in Breaking Away?
What's that?
Okay, wife told me it wasn't.
That's 6th Street looking west. But what makes it a little bit different is it's marked for one way east. Now, of course, it's two-way. And there's Buck Lemon Furniture, which Dave Lemon did not own. Are you related to Buck? Oh, Bedford guy, okay.
Why is that truck going the wrong way?
Well, probably because he's helping to paint, you know. A few of us looked at this the other day. We couldn't figure out where this was. Does anybody know? I mean, it could be, what, Spencer? I just don't remember that. Seems like I would have. So it's definitely a missile. This is kind of cool. 5 kids staring at a test pattern. 6 kids. And something's going to happen, maybe cartoons coming on. I don't know what was going on there. Yeah, that could be the old TV station, Sarkis Tarzans. Yeah. Well, she's queen of something. And I thought she looked like Liz Taylor a little bit, so I just put it on there. But I don't think Liz came here. Probably not. Well, there's Tom again. Not sure. Oh, yeah, selling poppies, right? Yeah. I figure this is probably Bradford Woods marshmallow roast. Okay, these are kind of, they are in front of that old photograph again, aerial photo of Bloomington. You think those things were balsa wood, or what the heck were they?
Yeah, those were sail planes.
Okay, you recognize those guys? Good year. Still there, right? Nope. Oh, they moved over to the east side, yeah. Now, you might think this is a football game, but I found out otherwise. What else do you think it could have been at Memorial Stadium? Yeah, with that many people there. It's unbelievable. I mean, how many people saw fireworks at the stadium? Yeah. There were probably 20,000 people there.
But it's not dark.
What?
It's not dark.
They're waiting for it.
They got there early, right?
That's how I knew it was. That's how I knew. Herald Telephone Entry. JC's also. Doesn't it look like they won a prize there or something? Looks like a radio. It's a picture or something. So. How they're raising money for the Virgil Grissom sign. And this looks to be an adult climbing into a bunch of barrels put together. Probably for a humoristic type thing at the races. This I had no idea. I don't know where that is. Bunch of girls dressed to the nines. I don't know if that was a beauty pageant or what. I have no clue. Looks like it's in a big building. Could be State Fair. But
Looks like it's got county.
girls in a car wash. Don't know where. This looks like girls attached to the IU, maybe? And no? What do you think? The one standing in the middle seems to be the most important one. I don't recognize anyone, though. Okay, there's a girl, 4 boys, and a watermelon. Okay, I don't know how many remember this, but there was a function at IU called the Miss Watermelon Bust contest. So I don't know if this has anything to do with that. Yeah, look like pledges, don't they? Well, they're on top of a bunch of watermelons, so. Looks like the fire department's giving a demonstration, and a couple of those guys look familiar. Recognize anyone? One guy almost looks like Tom Crandall, but I'm not totally sure. And I don't know if that's Benders or what, but the guy on the right, I know, I'm pretty sure his name is Johnny Freeman. Does that ring a bell? He raced cars down at the Speedway, just for the heck of it. But who the other people are, I don't know. And I'm not sure where they are. Here's another march. Oh, well, we know what this is. This is the Bay of Pigs demonstration. And I think that was what, 1961? I believe. Okay, I'm mad about this because this is the freshman baseball team. And I was on that team, but I was not in this picture. So I don't know if I was home or they sent me to go do something and then took the picture real quick while I was gone. But I'll identify him for you. Bob Boyle is one of the guys, his hand up there. He's on the far left, front row. And Jerry Burton, Jimmy Levins, John Slavich, Tracy Clay, Chuck Belcher. On the right in the middle was David Wagner and Terry Eppard, Jimmy Kinnaman, Steve Mitchell. His nickname was Elrod. Yes, it was. And I think that's Gary Breniger above the hat, and Gary Chambers. And going back to the back row, that's Gary Gist, far left, Bill Snyder, Paul Sendrich in the middle there, Mike Arnold, and then, of course, Al Gallo, the coach, who passed away not too long ago. Al was a great guy and a great coach. And I know I was on that team because I hit what would have been a home run against Steve Rollins on Dyer, only it was foul. So then I struck out after that. So I remember the strikeout anyway. So several of these guys have passed away. I think Jerry Burton, Tracy, Chuck Belcher, Terry Eppard. That's all I can think of. So firing range. Bill, you know where that is?
It's down Second Moore Valley, up on the east end, they held national police matches. It's probably one of them.
I got about 20 more to show. Is that okay? Or 30? Is that okay? Or is it getting too late? Handbags. I don't know from handbags. Are those nice?
Not anymore.
You know anybody there? Three Boy Scouts and I guess maybe a troop leader? Don't know. Okay, there's one of the scouts pointing a gun. Do you think it's that same range underneath the?
I can't tell you for sure. Probably with it, it's hard to tell.
By the way, what rifle is he using?
I think I used the Remington 22, but there was a couple others. If you were older, you got a better rifle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Better sights on the same.
I think I know this guy. Wasn't his name Mike Taylor? Does that ring a bell? Okay, somebody else says, yeah, Mike Taylor, I think. He apparently was a pretty good shot.
Well, it's only 50 feet. That might not be a good shot. Good shot, but all right in the center, kind of all touch each other.
But he hit the circle, Bill.
Like 5 concentric circles inside that black, and each one of them's a higher score.
Oh, okay. I think he thinks he won.
People put shots in our targets way out in the white, so we have a low score. First time I realized that military trained people would cheat you. This is better worse than others. That's a zip gun.
Bernie, what'd you say?
That looked like my cousin, Mike Taylor, and he later became a cop for, in Joliet, Illinois.
Oh, really? So that's a zip gun.
Made out of a car, a rubber band, and a hammer that comes up and strikes the back of the 22 cartridge.
Now, what kind of bullets did they use?
22 cartridge. That's what that is, 22 rimfire.
Okay.
Make one of them in about 15 minutes.
So how do you shoot it?
You pull the hammer back, stick them up there on the upper right, and then you release it, and the rubber band pulls the hammer forward and strikes the rim on the cartridge and makes it go off.
Okay.
The hammer spring or the rubber band wasn't strong enough to think it shoot the cartridge back into your face. You did put it up and look for it, you just kind of belly shot it. That tube stick out of the end, piece from all the
Think the battery's getting weak? Maybe what? Well, on the right there, I'm pretty sure that's Governor Matt Welch. And on the left, doesn't that look like Birch Bayh? And in between, I don't know. Matt Welch was a Democrat, right? That's what I thought. So we all know who Jack Knoll was, I bet. You know who the guy on the left was? That I don't know. But Happy Jack Knoll was pretty well known. Okay, this is kind of disturbing. I kind of want to know why they're hiking their pant legs up. What? Well, more power to them, I guess, too. Ah. This guy looked familiar, but I couldn't figure out who it was. Any ideas? I used to have a sweater like that once. Don't know who it is, though. Think the batteries are going? How'd you do that? Stay here. Is that Headley School? Or where is that? Any ideas? What's that?
Union Lodge on Vernal Pike.
I don't know. What? I think I got batteries. All right. Hold on here. So, I don't know who these guys are. It looks like a friendly police involvement. Looks like kind of a fancy house in the background. I'm not sure who it is or where, though. Okay, do it again. I think that's at McCormick's Creek, the canyon end. What do you think? Okay, Clay. Somebody at a loom somewhere. All right. That's that same setting where I took the other guy's hula hoop photo, the princess. And so he must be about 3 foot tall. Okay. I do know two of these people. It's at the very top, it's Dan and Dave Sparks, the twins at University High School. Or that's where they ended up. This makes me think it could be Binford, maybe. Don't know for sure. Anybody else recognize any of the kids? Okay, Clay. What?
Lucinda Schooler. Her dad was Pop Schooler, and I did.
I'm not sure. Well, this guy's looking at a calendar with an umbrella. I'm just wondering if they're making a statement about how many days in a row it rained. I don't know. It's kind of intriguing. Okay, Clay. Once again, a crosswalk somewhere, and I don't know why, but it kind of reminded me of Lincoln Street, but because the house is sitting up high, but I have no idea. There must have been a school close by, right? Somewhere. But I don't recognize the crossing guard. Okay. Guy shoveling snow down by Monroe County State Bank. You can see the Indiana Theater in the background. Okay. Well, I had to get me in here somewhere. This is 1963 football practice. And that's, of course, Coach Huff. On the right's Tracy Clay. Now, Tracy played, so I think he told me he had a tooth extracted this day and couldn't practice, so he was just there looking on. Okay, Clay. Yep. Fumble, get that ball. Okay. Now, I think I'm in this, on the far left there is David Sisson, I think. Next to him is Pat Gray, and then me. And I'm pretty sure that because we played right together on the line, center, guard, tackle. We would have been taken off together to go block that direction. And it looks like we didn't get there quick enough to me. All right, Clay. Now, the first jamboree in Indiana, the first time they held them anywhere, was 1963, and this is our version in Memorial Stadium. And we thought it was great to get to play there. There were 4 schools involved, and each school got to play 2 quarters. We played University High School for the first time ever in football, and we played Southport. And I think we beat Southport 6-0, and there was a 0-0 tie against University. The other 2 schools were Mitchell with Terry Cole, the big star, whoops, and Southport, of course, and us and University. Not sure who was in on that particular action. There was a decent crowd there. Okay, 2 of the guys here I do recognize. Number 28 was Mike Mefford. You guys might remember Mike, really good football player. And Steve Rollins is 54, I'm pretty sure. My number was 44, and I wasn't there on that one. I don't know where I was. We platooned, so we had an offensive team and defensive team. So we were only on the field half the time, all of us. That's Happy Jack Knoll again. Down at Tom Daniel Ford, looks like. Now, I picked this out because I like trees. And I really think that a lot of people would like to identify that tree. And if you look behind her, there's 2 college-age boys, and they probably are botanists or in botanist class because they're interested in that tree. And bless her heart, she really liked it. She's a tree hugger. Okay, that's enough of her. So this could be, who knows, Smithville High School, Steinsville? Anybody have a guess? Probably a county school, but I don't know. I don't know which one. That's Mike Abram, former classmate. And he must have won something for putting this together. I don't know what it is, but that's Mike. He went on to become a medical doctor. Maybe that's what he was doing here, practicing to be a doctor. Could be. Okay, Clay. This is move-in day, it looks like, at IU. All right. Well, there's a bunch of kids, scouts down at RCA doing Lord knows what. I'm not sure what they'd be involved in. What? I don't think they would have let him in the scouts. I just don't think so.
Number 2 for the right is P.T. Button. Dr.
P.T. Button, which one?
The guy in the Boy Scout shirt.
Second from the right.
Yeah, he was a big guy, right?
Yes.
P.T. Button, yeah, I remember who he was. Okay, that narrows it down. Okay, Clay, they're about done. Bunch of little kids, probably one of those parades down on South College or North College. Don't know who they are though. All right. So, could be Memorial Day parade again, where they're reenacting the flag raising at Iwo Jima.
The thing over at Ellisville.
Fall festival.
Oh, the fall festival?
That's that's the 7th and 8th grade students from Grandview.
Joint.
We had to go to joint in 7th and 8th grade in Grandview, which is a school at the corner of Prairie Pike, West 3rd Street.
Oh,
It's not there anymore, but that's what they did for the fall festival.
Arlie Downs is in the troops.
Where?
He's one of the troops, I don't know which one.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Oh, cool. All right. That looks to me like they're fishing a Griffey. Does that make sense? I mean, it looks like Griffey to me. Okay, Clay. That's a high school basketball game, and that's not at BHS. I think maybe that's University High School. Does that look familiar to anybody? They didn't have any names or anything on. Okay, this is the last slide. Put your cars. What's it, in that building still there? Up on North College? I think it is. Okay, Clay. Thank you. Anybody have any questions? It went a little bit over, didn't it? That's fine. Thanks, everybody.